Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be My Guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lyr Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick, and Tipperary. And I can't wait to interview my next guest. Hi, Ann Byrne-Gibbons.
Hello, Mary Honan. How are you?
You're leaving the Burns out of everything lately. It's Ann Gibbons.
Oh, I know. I think I'll always be known as Ann Byrne anyway. And yeah, I put my name in as Ann Gibbons on everything, and next thing I find a syllabus or something, or people will call me Ann Byrne and Ann Byrne-Gibbons. But sure, look, it's part of me anyway, so don't think I could get rid of it that quick.
I keep calling you Ann Byrne-Gibbons. And
I think everybody does, really, to be honest. Yeah.
It's like, I suppose, with all my friends, I've never called my friends ever by their marriage names. It's always Carmel Hickey or Ann Redden, and
yeah,
but nobody ever called my mother by her marriage name. It was always Myra Dwyer. So it's I think it's a thing we do.
Yeah, and it's going back to people as well. When I started teaching first, or if I was when I was dancing, people just knew me as Ann Byrne, and they'll always know me as Ann Byrne, and I am Ann Byrne. So I mean, it's going to stick, and it's probably going to stay for the rest of my days.
One day I said, "Who the hell is Ann Gibbons?" And then it twigged with me. Hi, Ann. How are you? Come here. Listen. I've always been interested. How did you get involved in Irish dancing in the first place?
Yeah, I kind of have a bit of a scrappy of between from when I started and when I ended up here in Shrule.
What's your journey?
My journey was kind of, I'm from Drogheda. I was born in Drogheda.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of people now would know, but a lot of people really wouldn't know. But I was born in Drogheda. My mother was the oldest of 9 children. And, my grandfather was a farmer, but my mother loved Irish dancing. Even though she never danced herself, she loved to dance. And she always remarks on times where her mother used to bring her to the fair, and the fair would be on in the big field, and she said always in the corner there was this platform where there was Irish dancing, and she said I used to sit there for the whole day and watch the Irish dancing, and she just loved it. But like, they lived out the country, and they only had they had no car, and they couldn't have, it's not that they couldn't afford to go dancing, the facility wasn't available to her living out the country and having to go into town and dance. So I think when she had me, her thing was, she's going to dance. So I started dancing at around the age of 5, and I started in Drogheda with Ruth Pentney.
Oh.
Yes, so I started dancing with Ruth Pentney. Now, I wasn't long there. My dad died when I was very, very young. And
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, my sister is Lorraine. She's my stepsister, Lorraine Farrell, and myself, Ann Byrne.
I didn't know Lorraine was your stepsister. I'm finding out so much about you.
Yeah. My dad died when I was very young, when I was 8 months, from an accident. And by the time I was 6, my mother, fair play to her, and she met another lovely man who is Lorraine's father. He's my stepdad.
I want to know, sorry Anne for interrupting you, but I want to know what your mother's secret is. Would you ask her, would you write it down for me, please? Because I can't find one.
My mother will tell you one man is enough for any woman.
I can't find one. It's like Gail Platt in Coronation Street. Look at all the men she could find. I can't find one.
There you go. But so I mean, she met Oliver, and I had 2 more sisters. I have a brother as well, and my brother is married to Ann Burke, who lives in County Clare. Yeah. But anyway, from Ruth Pentney, and after my mother and stepfather got married, because of his job, he was a sales rep with Coca-Cola. So he was working in Chapel Lizard in Dublin. So we ended up moving then to Maynooth in County Kildare. And I lived across the road from Grania Feely.
Oh,
and I used to go to dance. Yeah, it is a small world, but
it is tiny.
Yeah, I started dancing. I was in school in Maynooth, and the teacher during school hours was Harry McCaffrey. So Yeah, so I used to dance for Harry McCaffrey during school hours because we all had to dance. And I still remember Harry playing the piano while we danced, and he was able to look at us from the sheen in the piano, and throngs of us in the hall.
That's very poetic, and that's really, that's the mind of a poet to say that. He looked at us from the sheen of the piano.
The McCaffrey School of Clear. Agus be Harry McCaffrey a hen a chapan daus de seo fickiship cem fá ar a buinte thug sin panam the Tara Brocha.
School, of course, my mother still wanted more. I used to go to Phoebe Cullen, who would be Phoebe Donoghue's mother. Yeah, so I went to Phoebe Cullen in Maynooth, and my mother never drove. And my stepfather, of course, was working, so we just didn't have the car and whatever. And I remember Phoebe saying, oh, you know, maybe if you could go to an extra class. So my mother used to take the 66A double-decker bus from Maynooth, and we used to drive into Phoebe's on the Phoebe's studio there on the Navan Road in behind the house, and we used to dance in there. And because of the dancing, that's why my mother learned how to drive, because and then and then Mary Feely, Granya's mother, used to bring us to dancing, and we used to drive through the Phoenix Park and whatever. But they were just great. They're great memories, and I suppose a lot of people wouldn't even know this, like that I've gone from one side of the country to the other. And
yeah. I always thought you were God. What about, we get to that afterwards, my journey up to your house.
With little Bonnie. So, yeah. So I ended up, when I was about 10, my stepdad got a transfer from the Coke in Chapel Lizard to the one in Tuam. So at around the age of 10, we ended up actually moving location, and so we lived in Tuam. And from there, my mother then wanted me to dance for Celine. So I danced for Celine then, Celine Hession, from the age of 10, But my mother just loved the dancing. I mean, Lorraine danced and Orla danced, my other sister, and like I still remember the days
did she have 3 children after you? You were were you an only child?
Oh, she did. She had 3 children. Yeah. Now, in saying that, I have my own brother. When my dad died, my mother was actually pregnant at the time with my brother.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, she's a great woman, and she's as tough as nails and a big softy behind it all. And not easy. No. But so I have my own brother, and then Lorraine then is 6 years younger than me, and Orla then is 12 years younger than me. But my brother never danced, and so it was all about the 3 women dancing, and
I got away with it.
Yeah, he went to the odd fesh, but he was just into football. That was his thing, and he was big into the football. But I still remember my mother now going to the likes of Mullingar Fesh and all the feshes, and packing the bags and packing the costumes, and, you know, driving.
Yeah.
We'd only be a couple of miles out the road when she'd have to stop the car and just open the boot and just double check that everything was in the car. And
I know.
this, and, you know, and like back in the day, like you had 3 solo dresses, we had 3 class costumes. And
no mobile phone.
And no mobile phones, but we'd be gone for the day. We'd have the picnic basket in the car, and, you know, and Orla'd be the youngest and she'd be dancing in the younger section. Lorraine would be on in the middle of the day, and I'd be nearly later at night. You know, that's the way it kind of ended up. But, you know, and I have a little red book here, and it's so funny because I went over to my mother's house there not so lately during the lockdown. And I have this little red book, and in the little red notebook, my mum has every competition I ever danced in.
Oh, she should hold on to that, Anne.
Yeah, I have it there. Who judged it?
Today.
What place I got? And it was just, it's amazing to actually to go through it and just see it, you know. And I know in 1 year, she brought me to 32 feshes. And like back then, the feshes weren't as flourishing as they are now. Do you know what I mean?
Were not. You get three places, and the poor misfortunes then that never went home.
I remember.
You know, you took it for granted when you'd come home with 20 medals or whatever, and you'd be delighted with yourself.
You would, but you know, back then
you got a medal, or you got a cup if you were lucky.
Yeah, if you were lucky. I mean, there were times you could come home with no medal, and you just had to suck it up, and that was it, you know.
I remember coming home with a cup, and John Culnan had it inside, and the boot of his car locked. He couldn't find the key to the boot, and it took me 6 months to get the cup from him because it had to be posted from Cork to Limerick in those days.
Yeah. But I remember dancing actually in Féile de Vassa. Féile de Vassa was one of those feshes where, you know, every fesh back then had one adjudicator. Féile de Bassa was one of the big feshes where there was 3 judges, a panel of 3.
3, wow.
And it was like your qualifiers back then didn't even have a sash, but Féile de Bassa had a sash. And Muriel Brown, God rest her, used to actually crochet. She used to hand stitch the sash. And I remember going to Féile de Bassa, and it was a big thing. And I won the championship on the Saturday, but the presentations weren't being made until the Sunday. Well, nothing would do, but my mother had to go home, and Owen Quinn, who was organising, I said, no, we can't get you the cup now won't be here until tomorrow. But no, my mother had to bring us home because she was bringing me to a fesh the following day down in somewhere in Galway, no, we had to do the 2 feshes that weekend, you know. But we were just so into it. There's great freedom.
Used you ever come to Limerick for the Munster Belt?
Not for the Munster Belt, but we always went to Limerick for. We did a lot of feshes. I just came across medals there recently, and some beautiful medals. And oh God, it was gorgeous
ones with real gold in the
center. Yes.
Féile Limini medals, you'd get
them. They're the ones. I have them.
I have the silver and I have the gold, and I have a lot of the gold. But then I have one with a solid gold center.
Yeah, I actually have a few of them. I have a few of them. I came across all these medals again. I was pooching in my mother's house and found all this stuff, you know. And now some of the medals as well are. The medals they were all put into a biscuit tin. So they're an amalgamation of medals between myself, Lorraine and Dorla, you know. But they are, so a lot of the medals I have thrown away, you know, some of the medals, but the likes of those medals I've kept.
And I have them in my jewellery box.
Yeah, I've kept those medals now, and they're there. They're beautiful, and they haven't tarnished. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they're great mementos to have, you know. But So that was my story anyway. That's how I ended up actually going from Drogheda. And, you know, and I go back to Drogheda quite a bit, and, you know, I'd meet up with people, and people would wonder, why in the hell is she going to Drogheda all the time? I was reared there, you know, and, but then into Maynooth, and then now I'm married now, and I'm in Mayo now. So I mean, as I just say, you have a cross to bear when you do that too. The burden of marriage is having to cross the border from Galway into Mayo. I'll be kidding for saying it.
I remember so much the day you know, it's kind of the right point now to actually bring that in, Mayo, when you said, come up to my house and stay the weekend. And I got into my car. Now, I'm very good at parking. I mean, I park on your nose if there was a spot there.
Right.
But you know, my sense of direction was hopeless. So I put the sat nav on, and there was the old Garmin sat nav, and I put a Shrule into it. What I didn't realize was there was a Shrule Mayo and a Shrule Galway, and next it said destination on left, and I looked to my left, and there was a cow in the field.
Well, I remember you were coming up that day.
And I think I was 10 miles away from your house. I was in the county.
It took you forever to get there.
It took me 5 hours to get from Limerick to Shrule. I thought I'd never see Ann Byrne, but the look on my face when I actually arrived at your door, I can't.
I know. Oh, I did. I was waiting on you, and I was like, where in the name of God is she gone? Because it what should have taken you maybe 2 hours maximum.
Maximum 2 hours, probably about 2 hours. Took me 5.5. And lads were only that size at the time.
They were only tiny. I actually remember when you brought Bonnie with you.
I did.
And Bonnie was gorgeous.
Bonnie
but I remember
Blondie.
Yeah, my boys had loads of teddy bears and cuddly toys at the time, and they were all over the floor. And Bonnie was actually asleep in the middle of them all. And Bonnie just, it was like camouflage. Bonnie was like one of the little teddies. You know, you barely saw her, you know. Yeah, my
Snow White. She was a Highland.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, my boys were only small tots at the time, but they're big lads now. Danny is 16, and yeah, Jack is 18. Danny will be 17 this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just such. I just can't believe it took me 5.5 hours to get to Shrule in Mayo. But when I looked and saw this cow looking at me, and I saying, "Destination on left." And I was this tiny little lane looking for Ann Byrne-Gibbons, and I was saying,
"Yeah,
not Ann Byrne-Gibbons."
And I wouldn't mind, you know, you weren't far away, because I use Shrule as a Galway address, because it's in the actual district of Galway, but you can actually, it is across the border in just in Mayo.
Coleman was in Shrule, Galway.
She's true. Like Catherine used to live just up the road from me, and she was Mayo. But I always taught in the Galway kind of area, so I tried to keep my address kind of in the Galway sector.
When I finally asked, she's in Shrule, he said, but is it Shrule Mayo or Shrule Galway? And I said, I don't know, just Shrule. Like a foreigner in my own country.
Oh, stop.
And what was I going to say? You've met her, you know, I mean, do you think like me, have you seen much of a change in dancing?
I don't know. It's kind of, you know, I was thinking the question was coming up, and yeah, I've seen a change. The biggest change I've seen, of course, is the actual dancing itself. You know, people are people are the same. I think in general people have changed over the years because life has changed. There's more of a want and a need and everything, you know. The dancing has changed. The dancing has gone so technical. I mean, it's stuff that I would never have been reared with myself.
Yeah.
And yet I still think those basics are still the biggest element of dancing, like rhythm and timing. And not that I'm saying timing isn't taught now, it is, of course, or it isn't a big thing. But yeah, just the dancing has changed. The
style.
The style has changed. The movement has changed. You know, there was, you know, you used to be able to take your holidays. As a dancer, I remember, you know, you got your holidays for your 2 months and you didn't do anything. You went back in January or in September, and it took you maybe a couple of weeks to get the legs going again. And, you know, it was kind of fine. Now there's very little let up anymore. No, there's no stop.
No, it's very
Yeah, and it's an everyday. It's nearly you know, the likes of the core body training and stretching and all that. That's kind of an everyday thing now. And it's very hard to instill that into kids now, that, you know, you might have a day off dancing and you might not dance a step, but part of your dancing now is you need to do your stretches, you need to do your core body fitness. Even if you don't dance a step, they have to be done. That is part of the dancing life now anyway. You know, so those kind of things have changed.
Do you think it's gone more sport orientated and away from artistic, or do you think that? Do you see it like me as an art form, or do you see? I
see it as an art form. I do, and I see it very, very much so as a cultural thing.
Is it an Irish thing that we see it, or an English?
Yeah.
Is it an American way of thinking of it as a sport? Because I hear a lot of people saying, you know, especially on social media. I used to go into Voy. I haven't gone into Voy in a few years.
Yeah.
It's just utterly depressing. All it is just insulting people. And
yeah, I just think that
sport, and I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of us here. I do think it's very much sporty in the sense that physically now it's more demanding on the body. And yes, it needs more training than nearly some of the other sports.
But then so does ballet. I mean, if you look at the likes of Natalia Makarova and Nureyev and Baryshnikov and all of them, the core exercises they had to do. And the cool downs and the warm ups and all this. When you're saying
I wouldn't consider it a sport. It would be more of an artistic, and yet it is going on the lines of the ballet with all of the instructions and all that, you know. But I mean, culturally, I mean, to me, you just can't beat a bit of rhythm. You can't beat a bit of style. And I love that.
That's what I love, a stylish. Somebody with something, when you see somebody with style, you know, it just jumps at you. It does. See a whole load of fabulous dancers, but one would come out with that style that you just look and it's non-definable.
But I mean, I mean, competitive dancing is very tough. I mean, it's very tough. I mean, I just think there's, at the moment, and I know we're going through COVID, but I think we're very much at a loss of the cultural aspect of Irish dancing in this country. I mean, it's all, there's huge promotion on the likes of when they get to competition, you know, and I don't begrudge, I'm not a begrudger, but you never see where it all starts. You never see
the emphasis.
I'm one of those teachers that if I had, say I had 100 kids, 80 of those kids are doing 1 hour a week for a hobby. Half of them wouldn't even own a pair of shoes, but they're learning the likes of Shoe the Donkey. Now, maybe I'm just old-fashioned. Shoe the Donkey. They're learning their 4 basic dances. They're not interested in doing competition. They're interested in learning Irish dancing as a culture so that they can grow up.
They're also learning confidence. They're learning how to learn something from start to finish, how to keep going, how to be friends with people, how to...
And I mean, in saying that, I love the competition as well. And it's great to be able to bring a kid from your Bungrod level all the way through to championship level and be successful and see the kind of person that they turn out to be and know that you've been part of their journey, you know, and you get great satisfaction. But I get just as good satisfaction of a young one that's trying to learn the 1, 2, 3s, struggling, and then all of a sudden gets them. I'm kind of like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like I get such a kick out of teaching and helping children who are special needs as well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I teach that quite a bit as well. And it's just communicating in all sorts of different ways for everybody, you know?
I have a cousin whose daughter is profoundly deaf and non-verbal, and so is her husband. Neither of them speak or hear. And but when she was younger, she went to dancing, and she went to Jerstack because he was near her. And she couldn't hear a thing.
But she'd feel the vibration.
But she was the most beautiful dancer. And they used to say to her, oh, she's, you know, I mean, she's, you know, because she was related to me. But she couldn't hear a word. And as long as, or a note, and as long as her friend was on the stage or someone from the school and was dancing near her, she could feel the rhythm in the you
can feel the vibration through the...
and strangely enough, she used to win lots and never heard anything of the notes. But she had everything. She had it all.
Great, it's absolutely brilliant, you know.
Just couldn't, nothing. She hears nothing. And you know, I find COVID-19 very difficult for people like her because she was forced to wear this mask. A deaf person in this country learns first to lip read, and then they learn sign because of the word
of the way the system is.
Sign first. And COVID is preventing them from being able to see lips or anything. Which I find very difficult. But how is COVID affecting you, Ann?
You know, it's fine. I'm very lucky. Like, I mean, like everybody else, we had no classes, and I teach at the moment with Maxine Lorraine, and Maxine Lorraine was working from home full on, you know. But Maxine, who now wasn't working, and she's in Lord of the Dance, she was doing Zoom classes, and we, you know, as far as dancing was concerned, we did a lot of entertaining when it came to bingo nights and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we kept it going. And, you know, Maxine would do the Zoom fitness classes. And so we were kind of working at it all the time. And then Ann Burke's kids and Ann O'Connell's kids, because we're all amalgamated now together. And
I didn't know that either, Ann. Jeepers, you're a mind of information today. I didn't know you and Ann. It's logical, seeing as she is your sister-in-law.
Yeah. Well, you see, I was doing Ann O'Connell's workshop for a good few years, and you know, we're the best of friends, and we're at that stage in our lives where we're kind of like, we're chilled. We're on the end, not the end of our dancing careers, rather than starting off and full of beans. And we're full of beans for each other, and we're good buddies. And like Ann Burke is my sister-in-law, and it just stood to reason. And you know, but they'll always tell you, I'm
dancing. And went to June Deegan to dancing.
That's right. Yes. You know, so like, and she has 2 kids, and life is just busy. And so we're all kind of together. So during lockdown, like, we had just the Zoom stuff, and we had lots of entertainment. But the lockdown, other than that, like, I'm very lucky. I have a great husband who has the patience.
Very blessed with your husbands.
But you know something? He's
said yesterday, I'm so lucky to have the most wonderful husband in Brian. And I thought, I'm sitting here just easing up with envy with all of you, with your wonderful husbands.
Well, now I could throw him in the bin sometimes now too, Mary. But he's my backbone when it comes to not having any work. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's working, thanks be to God. Like, he's in and out of the office all the time. And, you know, he's
up there in the corner.
Where is he there? Oh, he is.
I'm a dance teacher, and I miss my students.
But, so lockdown has been okay. To be quite honest, lockdown for us, we're very lucky where we're living. We're living in a small little village, which is the most beautiful village, because there's everything here at walking distance, you know, between shops and everything. And I've never known from, like, John has always been away. John always worked away from home. I'm always gone. We're like passing ships. I'm gone in the evening times. My mother is my minder. Everybody knows that Ann's mother minds Ann, because Ann's mother does everything for me. I mean, literally down to minding. She's been rearing my kids since they were born. She has been doing all of my housework. She minds me like a child, and she still does.
That was my mother.
So lockdown was an experience in things like, you know, I found where the Hoover was. I found where the iron was. I started having to do a bit of housework, which is kind of not my style either.
Well, you couldn't get to your mother to do.
But sure, look, she was doing everything for me. I didn't have anything to do when I come home. And so, like, the one thing I'd say about that is, lockdown was brilliant for myself, John, and the 2 kids. All of a sudden, we're eating our dinner at a table every single day, and we're kind of like, this is cool. This is so cool. This is so nice. And, you know, I got into the kind of mindset of, do I really want to go back to this dancing and be gone every evening, start going back to feshes and be gone? But the longer the COVID's gone on, the more I want to get out at the same time. So, you know, it's just to keep that happy medium, because the dancing can kind of, when you're working all week at it and then you're gone to a fesh the weekend, it's like as if your brain has no rest and you're tired and you're going from, well, like, we'd have the Worlds at Easter and everybody would be kind of, the majority of people would be on their holidays or having their break, and we'd be kind of like, oh my God, I'm wrecked after the Worlds. It takes the week. You feel you're not well rested and you go back into it again. And, you know, my whole year is based on, like, my mother would say to me, now we have to do this and we have to do that. We do that after the Connaughts. and we'll do that after the All-Irelands, and we'll do that after the Worlds. And then the Irish Nationals happened, and it was kind of, we'll do it. Everything's based on Irish dancing.
Get old, Anne.
Pardon?
Your mother is very, very young at heart.
She is. My mother's only 72.
No, but she's a much younger 72 because all her life revolves around the dancing.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well, her life revolves around minding us always, no matter what age. Maybe it's a thing that she's been like that since the day my dad died. I don't know, but she's always minding us.
I wonder if it's an Irish thing.
Or I think it is. I think I have that with my own boys as well.
And I used to come home from my day job. I used to work from 8 to 4. I came home, my dancing shoes for Bunratty were polished. My socks were, or the tights were inside in it. My costume was after being cleaned and ironed and hanging up and ready for me. My dinner was on the table. My salt was put on the dinner. You know, and only because she didn't want anybody to mess with her kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, but sure, look, it's very. But I'm 50 now, and my mother would still mind me now this minute. You know, the last day she was over here, she saw John's shirts in the washroom, and they weren't dying, and she actually packed the bag with all of his shirts, brought them home to her house and ironed them all. You know, like
I can't. I was 30 when my mother died, and she was doing all of that. And I dare say if she was alive, and she'd still be doing it because that was my dad. My dad would come in from work and she'd say to him, "Go up to bed, Cyril, and take get an nap." And like a 4-year-old, he'd head up to bed for a nap. And when he'd get up, she'd have his dinner on a tray and brought it into the sitting room. Now, people would say, why? It was because she didn't want her kitchen messed up.
Yeah.
And his very presence and my presence in the kitchen just messed it.
Oh, I know. I'm the same.
Come here, Anne. I've asked a few people. Well, I was just talking actually to Mona yesterday, and I could hear Brian in the background, like her producer, her husband Brian in the background saying, "It's great to have you here," which was lovely to hear, you know, because that when you said about sitting down at the table and being able to eat with your family, that's what he actually missed. He's seen more of Mona now than he ever saw of her, and they're loving that. Yeah. You know, which is one good thing. It's probably forced us to actually sit back and reevaluate things. Jimmy Smith has thought the same thing. I'm trying to think who else said to me that it just helped them. Not Gary Healy, I have him tomorrow. I'm talking to Gary tomorrow. But Gavin Doherty said it helped him to reevaluate his whole business.
Absolutely, 100%,
And how he's going to actually fit children. Measure children, how he's going to run the business completely now. It's all completely changed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, but I mean, he was right there. I mean, I just think COVID, we've been very lucky. Like, I know there are so many more people who have been so unfortunate through the COVID, but, you know, dancing, it was like a roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster. It's kind of like, oh my God, am I ever going to get off this? And take a bit of time, because dancing is very, competition is a very emotional, it's a very emotional thing. And you know, you're on a high 1 minute, you're on a low the next minute, you're winning, kids are leaving, you're getting kids in. It's just, it's like
a merry-go-round.
It's like a merry-go-round, and you know, to get off it, and nobody ever wanted COVID, but it just gave us that time to kind of reflect and think about things. And you know, and I know teachers get an awful lot of bashing, but there isn't a teacher out there that doesn't want to give from themselves. Absolutely. They want to give from themselves. Absolutely. What they have inside them,
about what
the passion, you know, they want to give that. And you know, when that upsets then you can be emotionally unbalanced through Irish dancing as well. Do you know what I mean?
So many of us have actually taught for little or no money, and would and have actually charged children nothing, or gone to a dancing class, and actually the child mightn't have had the money, or the parent might have lost a job in the middle. And you're kind of saying, can I pay you at the end of the summer? Absolutely. It's not something that we're kind of, I think, with the exceptions probably, I'm sure there are people who have to think of it as a business because it's their livelihood.
Yeah, I know.
Always my livelihood, but I still never thought of it as a business because...
Yeah. Well, I'll never have money out of Irish dancing because I'm too soft.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And I would have over the years done private classes, and parents would say to me, with the private class, they'd say, well, how... what will I pay you? And I'd say, I don't need money. I just want you to practice. Please just practice. And I'd see I just wanted to see the end result of
did you hear what
my teaching? Do you know what I mean? And but I don't regret it. I don't.
Did you hear Jimmy's interview?
I didn't actually. I went looking, but I didn't see it.
There was a woman came into his class. And she said, and she brought her child to dancing, little one, and she sat, and he was teaching her, and he was walking her around, and in day 2, or at the end of the day, he said €7 for the class. So she gave him half of it. The child handed him half, and he said okay, and he took the money. And the same happened the next day, and he took the half of money, and he said to her, "No, lovey," he said, "it's €7. And she said, "Oh, but my mammy said to tell you that you'll get the full lot when she actually learns to do it to music."
Oh, well, I must listen to Jimmy's because I love Jimmy Smith. Myself and Jimmy Smith, were actually in Italy together many, many years ago. And I went on tour with Celine and Donica and Pat Hannafin. And I was only a young one. I was as wild as a March hare, Mary. I was about...
Donegal.
Yeah, Donegal, Winnicon. Yeah. And we went off, and I was a pupil of Celine's at the time. Myself, and there was about four or five dancers, and Celine and Pat and Jimmy and a few more. And oh my God, I still remember, and Jimmy doesn't take a drink at all, but we got Jimmy one day and we put him into one of these, one of these big water barrels. And we threw him into the water barrel for the crack, and the poor devil, he fractured one of his ribs, And it's funny because I was only going through photographs recently and came across the photographs. But great times. But I mean, Celine now would have introduced me to an awful lot of people like that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Lovely, Celine. She invited
Celine Hession. I love the bones of her. She's one of the most passionate people in Irish dancing about Irish dancing. Yes. And she was extremely good to me.
She's a lovely person.
She's a dose, an absolute dose. Yeah, I taught with Celine Celine asked me to help teach with her when I was 16. Yeah. And I taught with Celine for 10 years. And I remember she was asked to teach out in a country place called Kilnadee-Maleetrim. It was the far side of Loughrea. And Celine didn't have the time to do it. So she said to me, "Anne, would you like to take on that class?" And I was kind of like, "Yeah, but I need a car." I never forget. Oh, Jesus, Mary, I was only about, I don't know what age I was. I could have been around maybe 20, 21, whatever. Maybe 22. I can't remember. But I went in and I bought myself a brand new car on hire purchase. I couldn't drive. Now, I was about 23 or 24 because I was going out with John at the time. And I went into that place and I got John to come with me. And he actually drove. I bought the car. He drove the car out of the
parking lot,
out of the garage. And we were in Galway and we pulled up and I got him out. I said, "Get out now, I'll drive." Oh, I'm not joking. I just knew how to drive. I remember going to somebody's house and I was nearly in the garden. I was like, But this was all to do with trying to get this car so I could teach this class that Celine was giving me down in Kilmadine and Leitrim. And got the car anyway, and that was it. Celine Fair, and like, she was so good to me. She ended up, like, she paid for my car insurance and everything. And you know, Celine was she was a pet. And then I stopped teaching with Celine then after 10 years. And then I went to go and teach on my own. And then when I went to teach on my own, I met, and my parents are living in Corofin, County Galway. So the local teacher.
Your stepdad.
Oh, he is. He's 74. But we live in Corofin, and then we ended up, Angela McDonough then was the local teacher. And Lorraine and Orla, my sisters, used to dance in the school, and they used to dance for Angela during school. But while we lived in Tuam, we had been dancing with Celine, so that we didn't leave Celine. But fair play, Angela used to involve them in everything. So I actually went to Angela. I rang Angela about rules and regulations at the time about setting up my own school. I wouldn't have had a clue. Now, in saying that, Celine wouldn't either. She was brilliant, but didn't know rules and regulations and stuff. But so I rang Angela. And do you know something? It was just on there and then, myself and Angela ended up joining up together. So, like, we had met Donaburn School then for 17 years. And that was just, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And there was myself and Angela first, and then Lorraine joined in as a teacher, and then Derek joined in, and Anne-Marie joined in. And it was so successful, like, for all those years that we were together. And then it just took its course, as it's just, that's Irish dancing. It's the way it goes, you know. And so now I teach with Lorraine. But I've always been Lorraine's heart and package.
For a second, you have to think there for a second.
No, but I just said no. Then, like, I was teaching then, myself and Lorraine were teaching together, and then Maxine was a pupil of ours as well. So she did her TC and came in under the umbrella, and then Alan Scariff came home then from America and joined the school, and he met the love of his life and ended up meeting and marrying Shrule. You know, so it was great to be part of his journey as well. And like, I've met a lot of people along the way.
That was a lot.
Absolutely fabulous.
Shrule, sweetheart.
An absolute sweetheart.
I don't know Alan that well now.
Yeah.
Alan that well, but
nice guy. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So like, yeah. So and then I've always been teaching with Ann O'Connell and Ann Burke. You know, I was helping Ann as well, and so yeah. So you kind of you meet so many people along the way, and you know, people fall out of favour, and people. You know what, life's too short.
You've had a lot of friends. I'm thinking Pascal up there. And
my buddies.
I'm thinking Siobhan, everything's in reverse here. Siobhan.
Yeah.
And then you have David over there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
you meet, it's one of the benefits as well of even being an adjudicator is meeting so many lovely people. But like, I have, again, like that, nobody could disagree. Like, dancing, you fall out with people, but you fall back in again straight. Do you know what I mean? It just happens.
Look at yourself there, Ann Byrne.
That is me. Look at, oh my God. Yeah, that was me in my, I used to dance. You know, I was very bold, Mary. I used to dance for Ray Dory when I was younger, and score and all of that kind of stuff. And I remember one year dancing with Ray Dory, and sure, Ray Dory was Pioneers. And we went down to the bar after we had danced the first dance and drinking vodka and orange, because of course nobody could smell vodka and orange. Oh, we were as bold. But yeah, we used to dance. Angela used to help us now as dancers for getting prepared for the Rinca Forna in the scores or whatever. But I did a lot of set dancing. I won the All-Ireland set dancing in 1985. And for Corofin, we did the Cavan Reel set. And oh yeah, and I used to be part of the ballet group as well. Sure, I'm multi-talented, Mary.
You are just oozing in talent. It's just every core.
Yeah,
There's
you
no
know,
end to your talents.
no end, Mary, at all. But yeah,
How did
yeah.
you know Pascal? Was it through? Isn't Pascal?
I've known Pascal.
When it comes to Eurovision, Pascal's a one-man commentary.
He's an absolute pet, and I love the bones of him. And I've known Pascal for years, and you know, no matter what with dancing, we would always be friends. You know, it's gone past the point of
Competition.
a bad result or a competition, or that's irrelevant now. I mean, I'm very much like that now with Breed O'Brien as well. You know,
yeah, I love Breed.
Yeah, my busy. You know, and like we'd be on the phone to each other, and you just do meet. It's only a handful, but you do meet some fabulous friends. And like
Gavin, for life, because you've met. Do you know what I was saying? I forget who I was saying it to. You know, it's almost, where else would you find a career in life that you've been in from the cradle to the grave? Because Absolutely. It's not ageist. You could be teaching in your 70s. You could be teaching in your 80s.
But there's a great community. There's a great community. I mean, I know if one of my sons decided to, you know, leave home and go off to Australia or go to Hong Kong, do you know what I mean? There is a connection. There is a connection there that I would feel I could pick up the phone, even if I didn't know them personally. But that dancing connection would make me feel there's a dancing school there, there's a dancing person there. I mean, take one instance there now. Like Anne O'Connell's son was actually on that ship that was in Australia. And when we put it up for a petition to let those people off the plane or off the ship, like one of the first people that text Anne O'Connell was Catherine Coleman. She was living up the road if she needed anything. You know, there's always a handout. There's always somebody there.
You'd miss Catherine Coleman.
Yeah.
Because Catherine Coleman, you know, it's such a small world. When I was dancing in Ballarati Castle, my best friend there at the time was Noreen Coleman, who was the harp. Right. And Noreen had come to visit her grandfather from Australia and was playing the harp. And of course, Clem wouldn't let her speak because she had an Australian accent. He didn't want anyone thinking he had hired in an Australian to play the harp that he couldn't find. He was that old-fashioned, our boss. And he said, be quiet, say nothing, don't let them hear your Australian accent. And we used to go off to the Aran Islands together and everything. And of course, we had no mobile phones at the time.
No.
She said to me, my sister is an Irish dancing teacher, and I didn't know Catherine until we judged together at Fesh in Dublin, and 2 and 2 was put together. I said, "Oh, you're Noreen's sister. Oh, for God's sake, you know."
It's such a small world, you know. But
I love Noreen Coleman. You know, she's the most magnificent harpist. You know, she really was, and but she couldn't open her mouth inside, and she was just smiling. He wouldn't let anybody change their hairstyle or anything. It was not all like that. If you had blonde hair, you had to leave it blonde. If you had straight hair, I came in one day with perm in my hair, and he said that better be gone by Monday.
Jesus, that wasn't going to go too quick.
You know. But Anne, COGOL and Commission and CRN and all these organisations, Niall O'Leary put that question up on Facebook on Michael Dillon's page that he set up, fabulous page, and you know, it got me thinking, why are we all kind of like, why aren't we more, this sort of COVID has kind of brought us together in a different way.
It has, but I think COVID has brought us together as teachers and as personal people. There's always going to be separate opinions. There's always going to be somebody who wants to lead the pack differently from the others. Yeah. And I suppose having all the different organisations, there's nothing wrong with it, because it's like having I'm sure back in the day when Dunn's stores started, whoever was the original store decided, well, I want to do things different and have my brand. And I want to do things different. You have a Tesco, you have a Dunn's, you have an Aldi, you have a Lidl. I mean, it's no different. People just, now I do think people are very opinionated now, in the sense that they're not willing to accept other people's opinions if it's not the same as their own. So they get off in a big huff, and, you know, and then they're going to change the world. And, you know, I think we have to be very, very, I mean, any of my friends will tell you, I am the first one that will shoot from the hip. I have a mouth on me that will cut you in two if I'm not happy. Do you know what I mean? And I will mouth, and I probably
Violet.
I am. I just, and the older I get, the more I have plenty to say. But
never
you know, we all have to learn to accept each other's opinion and to realize that, you know, maybe sometimes we're wrong.
Absolutely.
And maybe, you know, and I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the likes of having different organizations. I just think they're different opinions. You're always going to have leaders. You're always going to have followers. And, you know, the leaders...
Think there's room for, do you think, I think his question was room for this open platform idea where you could have Feshna, where you could have competitors from all the organizations competing against each other. There's all different views now, and there's no one has a right view. Everyone.
There is no real answer to that, because, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I do think we need something a little bit more cultural rather than competition between all of the different organizations.
Definitely.
I don't know if competition is the answer between all of the organizations. Because it all ends up then tit for tat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned about that VOI board. It's vile. It's absolutely vile.
When is someone going to take it down?
Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And, you know, I just think... and
it's not just child abuse, it's adult abuse as well.
It is. Yeah. It's very sad, you know.
On the VOI board. I would die if my name ever appeared on a VOI board in a negative manner. To be honest with you, I'd die if it ever appeared in the beginning, I used to put up, when I was Fesh Registrar for the Munster Council, I used to put everyone's Fesh up there to advertise.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that was a good thing to do back in the day. But then, you know, there are nasty people out there. But, you know, we just have to, I don't go on to it. Of course, I go on to it when maybe I've run my Fesh and I'm hoping nobody has anything to say about me. Or if I'm after judging a competition and I'm hoping nobody has anything bad to say about me. You know, now, it's not that and you know, there's no point in me saying it's not that I care. Of course I care, you know, and, but like that, my opinion is my own too.
You'd want to be stone.
You would want to you'd want to have a heart of steel. But like, we all get hurt, and we don't like that things that are not nice about us, and, you know, false information. I mean, I would be very much the kind of person, if you have a problem with me, would you ever have the balls to come and speak to me about it? You know, I have 2 ears. I will listen. I will try and close my mouth and see the other side of the story.
I can't.
But I don't know if
but I would try to shut up.
I don't know if competition would be the answer between all of the organisations. I think a festival. I think something more of a community kind of an event.
Yes,
and, you know, let people up. And I think Tara and Elizabeth McConaughey have put something up on Facebook in relation to something very similar. And I think it's a very good idea. They have the initiative to do something that's non-competitive to bring people together.
Because I think as human beings, we're all competitive and we're all opinionated. And I do think I could never be part of any, or I've never been part of anything other than commission.
Yes, same as that.
I could never envisage being part of any. I think it was the 70s when Cógáil came in, and we had no concept then of what Cógáil and commission. We were just doing Irish.
We just didn't know.
And it's only in the last number of years that you'd have a concept. And it was only Niall's question that I got to thinking, there should be something maybe there for us that everyone can actually take part in, where there is no. But I personally don't think competition either is the way to go, because every organization has their hierarchy who feel that they're running it best for them. Yeah,
absolutely. And, so I that would be my own opinion. And it's only really kind of hit me. But again, I think it's great but it's only the competitive kids that would end up going anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you might have a kind of you could have competitions as well that for non-competitive as such. You could have culture, kind of like language, and you could have music, and you could have
I know with the COVID there's a lot of things going on, how to further things and how to reconnect everybody together in a world now that's so digital. But I think dancing has gone so far that I think we are forgetting we need to take a step back in order to move on.
Costume wise and
no, costumes to me are the same as what they used to be back when I was dancing. I mean, my mother was brilliant at buying her own dresses. She like we got our dresses in Galway, and we went to Mrs. Canny and we went to Mrs. Reck, and there was 4 people back in the day. People used to travel to Galway to get their costumes made, or they'd go to Limerick there. But like, costumes were as expensive back in my day than what they are now. So they're not expensive. That is the current rate of a costume. The rate really hasn't changed. Your costumes were expensive back then. It's the time, it's the effort that's put into them. No, I think the costumes are fine. Sometimes I think, God Almighty, we're trying to, I
love the glitz and glamour, and I
like the glitz and glamour too. But my whole thing about a costume is it's the fit. The fit has to be right. It has to look the part. But no, costumes to me are still part of.
That's what it's difficult for people like Gavin. He was saying it. How am I going to? This is one of the things he's reevaluating. How do you measure a child and get the right fit when you can't physically
do it? Well, if anybody's going to get it right, he will get it right. You know what I mean? He's very talented, and he's very, he has a great head on his shoulders, and he's, but he's a nice guy as well. He thinks about the person, and he thinks about the child, and he thinks, and a great businessman, and fair play to him.
Funny, Ann, in the interview yesterday, I haven't it up yet, but he was talking about, we were talking about him having a different colour suit and he said it started off as a joke.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a support. And then and then someone told him he looked like the Joker, because the Joker had a yellow suit and Gavin had a yellow suit. And I said, but who copied whom? And he said, well, the Joker copied me because I had the first.
Well, my mother loves Gavin Doherty, and you know what? She loves him by reputation, and I suppose that comes back from myself. But now when my mother goes to a fesh, or if she hears one of Gavin's kids has done well, she'll say, what shoes had he on? What colour outfit,
he said now it's gone to the stage, if he doesn't wear the colour of the child, he has to bring so many jackets. And I said to him, right, I said, but if you're in the room and you have one child and she's a red costume on, there's always the potential that you could get the wrong jacket on for the wrong child. And he said, it's happened. I've been at the side of the stage going out in the wrong colour jacket, and the mother would say to me, Gavin, you're in the wrong jacket, and he'd have to shoot the stage and put on the right colour.
Yeah, but you're looking, it's only a bit of fun, you know. It's a bit of fun, and you know, but
well,
yes.
It's got a lovely photograph of yourself now, and jeepers, it's hard to know which
side there, Mary.
And Aidan Comerford.
Oh, Aidan Comerford is a gentleman.
Man.
Yeah, that photograph is from back, was it last year or the year before, where his dancer Joe Howard won the world. And he's in the same age group as my own son, and they're like the best of buddies. So so we went over to the party. And
London qualifiers with Aidan. We were
he's an absolute gent. Yeah.
We obviously go for the same. We did anyway at that, but he's a lovely man. He's got such a smiley face.
Yeah, he's a dote. Absolutely lovely, you know. Just a nice, mild-mannered and good fun and good company, and you know, but most teachers are good company. Do you know what I mean? They like to have a bit of fun and a bit of stress relief in the bar from a heavy day at competition.
I think that going back now, once COVID, I had to cancel my fesh this year. But it had to be done, you know.
Yes.
And it was the end of September. But I think, do you think that going back to dancing now, that people will have a renewed, I suppose, sense of respect for each other's work and for people, like, you know, the people. I'm hoping that these little vignettes about all of you and help to people to actually get to know people beyond the teacher, because you go to a fest and you have this boy board that's constantly thinking almost like it's us and them sort of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are a great idea, because you know you will put it in the archive. It's like, you know, the Clare teachers put up a lovely video of all their dancers that wanted to do their 8 bars, and I know it was quite long, but do you know something? It's not that it's the present moment that it's appreciated. It is appreciated. It's when you go in a few years' time. It's like me finding that little red notebook with all the feshes my mother had written. It's when my Danny, who dances, and in 10 years' time or 20 years' time has his kids, and if they're dancers and they're looking back on the archives, I don't know how many nights I sat down on YouTube and I looked back on the slip jig that Celine and Donica danced. I looked back on the hornpipe that Sean Cullinan danced. I look back on the 2-hand reel that Sean Fegan danced. You know, you see all the Inishalga stuff there that Aaron brought to light there recently on that, what Michael Dillon set up. I mean, they're amazing. So what you're doing here through this COVID, Mary, is a priceless thing in years to come, and go back and look and say, oh my God, do you remember her? Do you remember her? And look what she's talking about. And back, you know, and it's fabulous what you're doing.
I never knew she was such a chatter, and I never knew she had such a personality, fabulous personality. We always just saw her as the teacher at the fesh. And you know, I mean, I think when you look at the voy board again and the destruction it causes children and to teachers who are just doing their best, and to adjudicators who are human beings behind it, and whoever is putting all these messages up on voy, thankfully, thank God, I've never been on it negatively or positively.
Same as that. You know, it is sad.
But
it is sad.
People, when they're able to look at Ann Byrne-Gibbons and they're able to see, oh, this is how Ann, and this is a human being behind the teacher. And
I know, and they'll be saying, oh God, no, she really was a bit of an old bitch though, really.
No, how could they say that, Ann?
How could they, Mary? They just couldn't, really.
So where to now from now on with your dancing, once we get out of lockdown?
Do you know, I go, my biggest worry, my biggest income in Irish dancing are my primary school teaching. I teach after school every day in a primary school, and you know, when I say I have 100 kids, I have the 100 kids in my after school classes. So I don't know when I'm going to get back to those classes because, you know, in all fairness, the schools have to get organised first. And I can't impose myself on top of them and say, well, can I move into your school? So I really don't know. Like at the moment, you're talking about having just the few kids that go to competition. It doesn't pay me. And as much as I love it, I don't know, can that last, you know, without me looking elsewhere or restructuring. If I don't get back into my schools, I think I'm not going to get back into my schools until January, because that then will give the kids time and the teachers time, because I still think the wave of the flus and the sickness and everything and the panic will set in kind of in October.
Panic. A lot of it is people.
I think a lot of it will be panic because, you know, kids get sick in October, November. They're going to be going home with coughs and spluttering and germs and everything. And we're going to be wondering, is it the COVID? Is it the flu? Is it just a common cold? And I don't know. I really don't know where I'm going from here. I will always teach, but I just think it's my structure may have to change. You know, it was the comfort of having the kids just coming down to me from their classrooms and then their parents picking them up after dancing was over.
Yeah.
Now it's a case of, will they bring their kids home from school? Will they get back into their cars and bring them to a dancing class?
I think people, I'm maybe the glass half full person. I think people will actually, as human beings, we're very resilient. And I think once people start getting back, people forget very quickly. And unless it's actually impacted them personally, I think people tend to be resilient, and you come to realize that you have to move on. You have to live. You have.
But it was just no, and I probably will go back. I probably will get back. It's like, do you know what? This is the way the COVID is now. It's like nobody knows. It's the unknown. It's the uncertainty of everything. Like, you know, but it's the same with everybody. Are the kids getting back to school normally? I'm only a small pond in this big, a small fry in this big ocean, like, do you know? Whereas, am I getting back to my class? As I say, I'm very lucky to have the likes of John Gibbons, who has a decent, good job that I'm able to fall back on. My hand is out every day saying, I want more money, you know? But, you know, so like I am very fortunate, but I'm not cut out.
Spoiled all your life.
I've been spoiled all my life. Yeah, I have.
Your husband and the handout to the husband.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm at the stage as well where I have 2 years now of leaving certs. So I have Jack going into leaving cert now in September, and then I'll have Danny going into it. And you know what? They're boys, and they're great boys, but they're the best at doing nothing at the same time. So I have to make sure that I have the time to sit on them, because they're smart lads, and you know, and I have to be able to give them every chance, you know. So yeah, there's just a bit of restructuring to go on, but it all depends, Mary. It all, you know, I don't know. We don't know our fetch is getting back properly. We're all hoping they will. We don't know if the oroptuses are happening. We hope they will. You know, nobody wants the COVID number cases to be getting higher and higher so that we have to take a step back. And life has to go on. But I suppose COVID is going to be there for as long as it takes, and we just have to play it. It's having to wing it. It's just not knowing. It's having to wing it, you know.
It's the uncertainty, and
it is, yeah, and the
unknown,
yeah.
What's happening with your
and then again, no more than that. And we were talking about that with the different organisations. Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody is in a different circumstance. You know, we have dancing teachers there that their livelihoods is Irish dancing. That's their finance. Yeah. They have to get back to work. I don't have to get back to work, you know, unless John Gibbons was to lose his job in the morning. But I don't.
He's not funding your lifestyle anymore.
Well, he better keep working, or I would have something to be given out about then. But there's a lot of teachers, and you know, you do take the likes of Gavin, like his whole life of business and is Irish dancing.
Everything's Irish dancing.
Everything's Irish dancing, you know. And whereas he would be a very caring kind of a person and would not want to endanger anybody in going back to him, but he still has to run his business. He still has to, he still has to pay a mortgage.
As you said, and no better bucha. It's the Irish for boy. No better boy to be able to come up with a solution to a problem.
Yeah,
he was telling me, you know, it was analytics he had studied in college, or he wanted to study, and he ended up doing design. He sold all he traded in his student loan and bought 2 machines without his mother knowing. So you hear that, but the thing is, he has an analytical mind, anyway, so he's going to be able to solve it out.
So like everybody just is in a different situation. Like some people they want to get back to everything, but it's because their livelihood depends on their dancing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there are different opinions, and then we can turn around and say, well, these people don't care. It's not that they don't care; they just want to do everything faster than say what I want to do with myself, because I'm in a different situation than they are. So yeah, I will get back to dancing. I will I'll be back, and I'll be giving out about this, and I'll be giving out about that, and I'll be back to my old usual self, you know.
And long may that continue. Amen to that.
I made it this far now, Mary. I think I'll keep going, you know.
Mary, and you're absolutely, you know it, of course, yourself. You're after working a blinder there now for the last hour and 25 minutes.
Are we that long? Jesus. No, but you know something? You text me and you just said, you know, just be yourself, Mary. And I said, yeah, okay. So you've got me in a good mood today. Now I was giving out about nobody.
You were giving out, well, you know, I mean, I've never told you to give out about anyone. I haven't. But the thing is, maybe I just don't listen to people when they're giving out.
Yeah, you're dead right. You're dead right. Nobody listens to me there.
Because we're fighting with each other today, and tomorrow we're all best friends. So it's pointless, you know. It's a pointless exercise. We're all in.
I know. I say John Gibbons has me spoiled. He's the best one to have an argument with, because he just gives me the hand and says, "Stop it now. Go away and have a walk now. Come back in good form." Do you know?
My dad was like that, and it was very frustrating.
Yeah. John would be the same now. He'd be very proud of that.
My mother had a limp. And she was very small. She was only 4'7". I'm 4'10", so I was a bit taller than her. And my friend always remembers my dad was desperately quiet, and she was rabbiting on about something one day, and she was just really, apparently when we were younger. And Ann always talks about it. We were about 8, 9, and he just picked her up and sat her up in the sink, and she couldn't get down. And he left her. And she was shouting,
yeah, that'll be John now. Yeah.
And that shut her up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, she just walked off and left her off the sink. And thank you very much for coming.
Mary, thank you for asking me. I'm honoured now that you asked me. Thank you so much.
I needed you know, at this hour of the morning is, well, it's what is it, 2:30, but it's morning to me when you're up editing, you know. But it was a pleasure to have you on, and I can eat a blueberry now. Looking at the Thanks, Ann.
You're very welcome, Mary.
And best wishes to you and John Gibbons and the lads and your dancers.
Lovely. Thanks a million, Mary.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
One of the big costs in the